This week on the Dan Nicholl Show, the first time we've had an episode of the show that's very specifically orchestrated for 9-year-olds, and one 9-year-old in particular, because generally my son Aiden has got absolutely zero interest in anything I do unless it involves me taking him to cricket or football. But today I have a goalkeeper, and not just any goalkeeper, one of the greatest goalkeepers in the history of the game. And as a result, my son being a goalkeeper, he is most excited that joining me on the Dan Nicholl Show this week is the great Brian Baloyi. Spider-Man, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
It's not often that Aiden gets starstruck, and he wasn't the first time he ever saw you. He then went and watched 800 YouTube videos, obviously most of them in black and white, of Brian Baloyi playing. And then the next time, I don't think he could talk to you. He was just super, super excited. So this one is on behalf of a young goalkeeper who's really excited to have you on the show. And that means lots and lots of memories for me to dip back into. But I do want to start, given that my son is a goalkeeper, going back to those early memories, and whether it is football or hockey or ice hockey, generally most goalkeepers I've met have just got that little bit of madness to them. There's that little bit of crazy to them. When did you first discover that being a goalkeeper was in the DNA?
I think I was about 12. And I had been, just playing soccer in the township, just like any other kid. And but when you're kids, no one wants to be goalkeeper. I remember when I started, I was just playing out because of being the tallest kid, in the class or in any given situation. And then they played me as a centre back. And but I remember one of the games as we started playing, our goalkeeper didn't pitch up, and none of our coach, and unfortunately or unfortunately, so our coach was a goalkeeper himself, and so he asked all of us who wants to volunteer. So none of the guys wanted to, and I decided, okay, I'll play keeper today. And from then on, he said, no, you're not playing any other position. It was a struggle. It was a struggle at first, but eventually I gave in, and
And you found your calling.
Yeah.
There has to be not just that bit of crazy, but also fearlessness. Again, I reference my son, thankfully, is like his mother, and he's completely fearless, which means every game he comes out of, he's bleeding somewhere, he's cut somewhere, he's worn studs to the side of the head. Talk to me about that fear, that courage, that element of being a goalkeeper, how you overcome it, how you deal with it.
Yeah, that's the fun part. I mean, when
that goes back to the crazy.
From when you're young, even old, when a ball hits you in the head, you get that adrenaline rush. You get, and I used to love diving around. And if a game went on and I didn't have to dive, and it didn't have been a soccer match for me. So. So I always found a reason to dive, and I just enjoyed it.
That's exactly like my son. If the ball's coming straight to him, he'd rather step to the left so he can dive right and get that in.
He's going to be a great goalkeeper.
He has a great deal of fun, and he's already told me that he's playing for United in a few years' time. There was a while not that long ago where it looked like he could play from this season, but thankfully they're looking a little better at the moment. But he's following a journey that so many kids want to, and your journey was one that went from I love playing this, it's great fun, to hang on, maybe this could actually be what I'm doing. When did that start to foster? When did you start to think maybe football is what I'm going to be doing?
Not until I turned professional, to be honest. I signed for Kaizer Chiefs first team at 17 in 1991, but even by then, most soccer players at the time were, they had a regular job, and then, and then played football on the one side. So it wasn't really, up until around from then on, and mostly in '92, that one started really, understanding what this is. But you know, I remember when I was about 15, from 15, 16, when I played for Barford Park, Gary Bailey, when Gary Bailey came back and played for Chiefs, he came and he used to coach us. So he had a program with Brian Perry, who used to be goalkeeper for Cosmos, and they would go in the northern suburbs and do just coaching clinics and coach, the clubs around. And yeah, he coached us. Yeah, I had a privilege of being coached by him, and yeah, I always knew, or they always told me, you have potential, you can. But for me, I was just having fun more than anything.
For most 17-year-olds, the closest you'll come to Kaiser Chiefs is hopefully going to watch a match, or you've got a poster of the Stars up in your bedroom wall. What was that like, that first week of suddenly you're part of a squad surrounded by, I'm sure, so many of your football heroes?
Yeah, I was starstruck. When I think of the players that played for Chiefs at the time, and I mean in '92, Chiefs won everything on offer, and yet at that time they had, goalkeepers. It was William Shongwe and Wade Duplessis. Had your Dr. Kumalos, had your Scaratintwa, Shane McGregor, Howard Freeze, Mark Tovey, Neil Tovey.
This is quite a side.
Jeez. Then you had your, Gardner Seale and Tiema Pico on the left, and on the right you had your, there was a guy, Matthew Spiri, and then you had Triple K, Tim Kulu. The Wellington Magnatis, it was just funny Madidas. And you can imagine as a young man training with these people every day. And I remember we used to train at George Koch Stadium next to the hostel. And every day those guys from the hostel, they would come to watch us training. So training then at Chiefs was like playing a match every day at training, because you had about 300-400 people sitting in the stands watching training, and remember, I think one of the greatest coaches I've had, and that really played a big role as well in not only motivating me, but in my development in that time, including mental, was Jeff Butler. And had so much fun, yeah.
How long did it take to start feeling comfortable in that space? Did you take a few days to pluck up the courage to kind of nervously shake Dr. Kumalo's hand and say hello, to walk up to Neil Tovey and introduce yourself?
It took, but back then as well, one of the greatest things that Kaizer Chiefs did with the reserves team at that time was that the reserve team always had one day in a week. The reserve team, we train in Soweto, and they would be bussed in to George Koch and play a practice match against the first team, and that's how a lot of players that came up, that my generation and the ones a little bit before, that's how they were always introduced into the first team. And again, another thing as well is that a lot of times when the first team played on a Saturday, and if the reserve team had a friendly match, more especially outside Gauteng, then some of the first team players would want to come and play and go and travel with the reserve team. So as much as they were big superstars, but the gap wasn't that much with the reserve team, because we were always around the first team.
because you don't always hear that in football sides of generations gone by, where often you were the young guy, you were cleaning the boots for the older players, and it was quite an aggressive, quite an intimidating space to move into. But it sounds like this wasn't that at all.
We were cleaning the boots.
All right, corrected.
Yeah, we were cleaning the boots.
But you still felt welcome when you were in the.
Yeah, you still felt welcome. But yes, we still had to clean the boots. We still had to carry the bags. When you're traveling at the airport, you're the one with the kit manager having to carry the bags. And, so we still had to do all of those, and but it was fun. It didn't feel like a punishment or a duty. You always knew that to be part of the first team, this is a part of an initiation you got to go through, and and when we became senior players, so we knew what to do. So.
It clearly didn't take too long for Chiefs to see that you were a very special player. But it's not the easiest thing to break into side as a goalkeeper. It's rare that you'll see a goalkeeper get 20 minutes off the bench at the end of the game. That's not how football works. So you had to wait a little while. When did you find out? How did you find out that you'd broken into the first team? And what was that very first game like?
I've had to wait 2 years. But in that 2 years, I played about 2-3 matches. Friendly matches, but that were, I remember 92 and 91 and 92. There was a tournament back then. I think it was called Spaletta Challenge. It was almost similar to what you see with this Black Label Cup now.
Mm-hmm.
And the team the club that would have won the league and cups and would play. That match against a team made up of I don't remember, but the team would come from, I think it was mainly from high schools and stuff, and so I only played those, but I remember my first match was against Moroka Swallows at Ellis Park, and I've been looking forward to it. Was nervous but excited.
Did you sleep much the night before?
Back then, fortunately as well, was that they never used to tell us the night before who's playing.
So you only found out on the day?
You only found out on the day. And but super excited. And a moment to really cherish, always remember.
And when you walk out onto that field and you look around, Chiefs don't do small crowds. How is that to take it in? Did you give yourself time to take it all in?
Not really. I was just caught up in the moment, and I think it was something that I had been looking forward to for so long, including that to play. I don't know, maybe if what I did at the time helped or it was really time for me to play, because I had gone almost like AWOL for 3 months. Just from the beginning of the season in '93, from late December '92 to like January, February, I went to Witbank Black Aces, and I was recruited by the great Johnny Ferreira, the coach, and at the time, I remember I lived with the owner at his house in KwaMhlanga, the late Veli Mahlangu, and so at that time I had been pissed off for a long time, wanting to play, and I thought, no, I want to play. Then I decided to leave. And the club said, no, to my parents, your boy needs to come back. He's going nowhere. Aces tried to get, Chiefs to sell me to them, to sell me or at least loan, but Chiefs said no. And I went back. So I went back a month after I went back. That's when I started playing.
It could have been a very different life for Brian Baloyi if that had
Yeah,
happened.
it could have been. Yeah, it could have been a very, very different life. But I guess you know when your path is um, um, what kind of what is the word? I guess there my path was
That was your destiny.
my destiny was
Yeah.
being with Chiefs, and yeah, but I enjoyed my debut thoroughly. It was a 0-0 draw. Yeah, but yeah, that was the start of the Brian Baloyi journey.
Now, this stage you're still, what, 19 years old, 18,
Yeah,
19 years old?
yeah.
So you haven't even hit 20. Most of your friends are finishing school, maybe looking at studying, possibly getting their first job at the very bottom rung of whatever field they've moved into. And then here's their schoolmate, Brian, who's now in the starting 11 for Kaiser Chiefs. How much and how quickly did life change outside of the football field?
It changed a lot. I mean, um, from 17, from when I signed, a lot changed. When you go to school, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as it was, before before people knew that now you play for Kaiser Chiefs. But again, I guess maybe as well, I was lucky that growing up in Alex, there's so many great players that played for Kaiser Chiefs in Alex. Um, that lived in Alex, like Shagan Ngobo. And there was a goalkeeper as well at the time that had just retired that played for Kaiser Chiefs, Isaac Chirwa. And he came from Alex, So, and as young kids, before even playing for Chiefs, I mean, we used to watch him train at the stadium, and we used to. Um, I used to just love how, when he would be walking the street, kids would just, follow him. So one was just drawn to that, the attention and all of that. And when one then turned professional, yeah, so I was always already understood what how it's gonna be like. But when I started playing, my my late older brother, was the one who always made sure that to remind me of my place, and made sure that I kept my feet on the ground, and made sure to remember that yeah, superstar there. The streets, when you get back home, when you're home, there's
You're,
none
st-
of that.
you're still the little brother. And probably at the time that was quite annoying. But now looking back, I'm sure you really appreciate the impact that that had on guiding you, because we do see so many stories of young footballers who a bit of money and a bit of fame, and it all goes wrong very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. I'm forever grateful of the role that he played in really shaping uh, my thinking, my character, and understanding the field that I was in, and and it made things easier. The more I grew into the game, the more um, um, the I guess what I would say, the more I became uh, comfortable with being a superstar, but the more I understood that I'm just a human being, and 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 as well, it helped me to then to create a character that um, I had a character that on the field playing football, this Spider-Man off the field, including that. Um, till today, I always tell people that, and my family at home and people that grew up with me in Alex, they refer to me with my other name as Bafana, not as Brian. So, so for me, then I knew that Brian is the one that plays football, and Bafana is the human being.
So you had your Spider-Man and your Peter Parker, and
Kinda,
and it worked well for
yeah,
you.
yeah.
the team you played for is just such a massive institution. You can't turn around without bumping into a Kaiser Chiefs fan in South Africa. Initially, it's probably a bit overwhelming, but also quite cool. You're walking through the shops, and generally Chiefs have won a game, and you're being popular. After a while, though, there's the sense that you are the property of Kaiser Chiefs fans. Does that ever become just a little bit too much?
Yeah, it's till this day. You once you play for Chiefs and you get to the levels that myself and a whole lot of others get to, your Dr. Kumalos, your Shus Mshweu's, Tabu Mokis, Neil Tovis, then you have to be to understand that whenever you step out of the door, you are a Chief's property. You are the fans' property. And I think Shus Mshweu used to loved saying this. He said, you have to learn how to take the good with the bad. And we used to, like hanging around him and just, for wisdom and, and he would say, in life, everything has a good and a bad side. And a lot of times when you are, and he like saying that when he sees some of the players sometimes, if we are maybe at the hotel or we are at the airport and the fans come, they wanting an autograph and stuff, and someone then is, that not giving them that attention, and that's when he would always address it and tell him that, all this person that comes to you now, maybe they're just taking 1 minute of your time. Is that really too much? And you have to understand that the life you chose, and once you are in it, you can't choose to want to take the good only, and then the others, and not accept and embrace them, and but for me, what I love and what I have always as well be like advising players that would play for Chiefs in another club, and I would say, when you understand that the enormity of how enormous the Chiefs brand is, and that then that when you stop playing, that Chiefs brand will still, if you know how to handle your own personal brand, the Chiefs brand will always help, to amplify your brand. And I played for Sundowns, and Sundowns is a great club. It's a big club, but you can't compare. Yeah,
That's the sound of Patrice Motsepe switching off the podcast. If you heard that in the background, it raises a really key point in your career, though, in that you did make that decision to move on to Sundowns. I'd imagine there were Chiefs fans picketing outside your house, and social media wasn't as monstrous then as it might be now. But lots of very unhappy Chiefs fans, as they would have been if you'd played till 60 and finally decided to retire, because you are such an iconic member of the Amakosi story. But when you did decide to move over, what fueled the decision, and what was the response like?
Jeez, it was never an easy decision. It took months and months of trying to resolve our differences with the club at the time, to a point where one had to sit and think and be realistic that players come and go, clubs will always be there, and our journey with football clubs is not to infinity. It's not, it ends at some point. So me trying to resolve and not really leave Chiefs at the time got to a point where one realized that you're human after all, and you're not as invincible as you think you are, Spider-Man. So now you have to get to a point that you're making a serious and difficult decision in your life that's going to impact possibly the rest of your life. Even post playing. But I I'm I'm a football scholar, and football teaches you a lot. And I think most people, I think when we play, we don't learn from just the environment and things that happen around us, and situations, and um, with other people that have come before us that happen. And for me, um, I I then decided that, you know what, uh, you this is the end of the journey, but you know, have an opportunity to start something new. And at the time as well, when I don't think I would have gone to Sundowns um, uh, if it was still the owned by the people that had owned the club before. Uh, and I know, I remember even before Mr. Mtsipa took over the club, um, there had always been, you know, interest from Sundowns, but I'd always brush it off. To a point where it was actually, even when I moved to Sundowns, I almost went to Pirates.
Really?
Yeah, I almost, after my first 3 years at Sundowns, um, yeah, bumped into, you know, difficulties with management because of a whole lot of other things that I was doing at the club that they were not happy with. Um, they were not happy that I was too close to the president. And so they started trying to get me out of the club. you know, and at that time, then there was interest from Pirates, and
That would have been like seeing
I,
Luis Figo in the Madrid shirt.
I had been speaking a lot with, at the time, with Floyd Mbele, who really tried to get me there, but at the back of my mind, and uh, I always thought I was going to be a one club man. So when I changed, and for me, the most important thing for me was that I knew that I was now getting at a point where I'm older, and I was mindful that this thing is going to end at some point, and I didn't want to go on and start new relationships again, new relationships. So for me, that was most important as well. And then I went on and resolved the issues that I had, and so the story is, at Sundowns, I played for 7 years at Sundowns. My first contract was 3 years, and when we started having problems, they gave me 1 year to prove that I still want to play. Because at the time, one of the things that they had fed the boss was that I'm a businessman. I'm now concentrating more on business than on the field. And at the time, I had just, bought a Capello's restaurant, and and yeah, so I had to prove myself for that, that. Yeah,
But
so
the
I took
fire
that
was
one
still
year, and I was able to. I was one of the best players in that season, and they gave me another 3 years.
I'm just trying to picture you in an Orlando Pirates jersey. It's the image is not working. It certainly wouldn't work for Chiefs fans. In the end, it was just the two clubs. Was there ever a thought of going abroad? Was there ever an opportunity to play in Europe, for instance?
Yeah, geez, that. That was my big dream, and always was trying, looking for that opportunity. My agent only had one agent, the rest of it, Glenn Binkin, and he had been trying very hard to push and get. And in that time, and more especially in my time, my 13 years at Chiefs, we had offers. We had concrete offers from Europe. Unfortunately, the club was turning them down. We had offers of going on trials. The club turned them down. Had an opportunity to go on trial at Liverpool.
Really?
And the two people that were behind it, facilitating it, was Peter Ballock and and Bruce Robler. And but unfortunately, it never happened. And then I had, countless offers or inquiries from Copenhagen when Spusiso Zuma had just gone to them for almost like 3 years straight. They used to come here and train in Kabeja, and nothing happened. And
What might have been?
what might have been, but when those would come and I would know and it'd be turned down. When I go back, when I train, I used to motivate myself and saying to myself that as much as I want to go overseas, if I don't go, it means I'm supposed to be here, and there's a bigger role that I have to play here. And that's how I always motivated myself. Including in Turkey, some of my friends that played in Turkey, like Afro Piri, they used to try as well behind the scenes, wanting to get me to to join them in Turkey. I remember the one offer that came that was concrete, that came from Turkey as well, but it came just after I had signed with Sundowns, as I was moving to Sundowns. And these Turkish guys came and I said, "No, you are free." Yes, I said, "I already signed with Sundowns," and they tried to convince us. They tried to convince, and Glenn put it on my table. What do you? I said, "No, I signed already. Now, if they want me, they have to they speak to Sundowns." Yeah.
Well, you're a man of your word, and you gave us and South African clubs great reward for not having headed over to Europe, and an absolutely fantastic football career. But these careers, even the goalkeepers who go on a little longer than most generally, have to eventually decide it's time to go. And life for Brian Baloyi now is, aside from hitting the golf ball an annoying distance, because I've had the misfortune of playing with you, there's also a number of things you do, and particularly the Brian Baloyi Foundation. Tell me a bit about that, why that's important to you, what you're doing.
That's the Brian Baloyi Foundation is very important to me because giving back is very important and essential for me, and because of how I grew up and where I grew up, and understanding that not only not forgetting where you come from, but that there's so many challenges in society today that we have to see how we help with the challenges, and it can't be that everything that happens in society we always looking at government must do this, government must do that. So with our foundation, we focus on 3 pillars, which is education, and we focus on sports and health. But on the education side, I'm blessed and lucky to be working with a company like Hollywood Bets for the last few years, and we do a lot of work with the Back to School campaign, where we choose. They give me the latitude of choosing schools in 2 different provinces every year, and that we go and donate school shoes, school uniform, and stationaries. We've had the opportunity of doing even something a little bit bigger, where we built libraries with shipping containers and donated them in rural communities in the northwest, in Limpopo, in Vryburg, the other one, and in Mpumalanga. So yeah, we've donated a few in the last few years as well, and so we're looking for opportunities, and when people come to us, and for partnerships as well. We always are open for partnerships, and but the focus as well now on the sports side is we're looking at what we can do with the Brian Baloyi Foundation, with helping with development of goalkeeping. And for me, I think it's naturally, I think it's for the last few years, I've been doing a whole lot of stuff in business and any other thing except, coaching. And but it took some realization that there's opportunities within football, there's opportunities within the goalkeeping that one can pursue to help and develop the position or the sport in that regard. And we had to do research. Me being a businessman, looked at if you look today in the PSL, almost 60% of the clubs are playing with foreign goalkeepers. The youngest goalkeeper, South African goalkeepers playing in the PSL is like 27, 28. Number 1 goalkeeper right now is 33, turning 34. Still young for a goalkeeper, but the problem lies with second goalkeeper, where there's about 3 or 4 that are about 29, and all of them, they've played less than 5 or 10 games for Bafana, so lacking in experience. And even now, I think we have to just pray that that Ronwin, leading to the World Cup, that doesn't have an injury, because we'd really be in a big dilemma if he had to get an injury or suspension, just before at the World Cup. So
Actually, I'll argue with you there, because there's a 10-year-old at the moment. He will be 10 by the time we hit the World Cup. He's ready to go.
he's
so-
ready. I'll be happy to be his mentor.
He would be delighted. And we've got this on record now. So I do want to ask you about the World Cup just before we wrap up. The Africa Cup of Nations didn't go quite as we would have liked. It was a compelling tournament to watch, but we didn't get the results. That first game against Egypt probably put us on the back foot a little. We now head off to the World Cup in Mexico and Canada and probably America, where we repeat the 2010 opener with that game against Mexico. How confident, excited is Brian Baloyi about Bafana's chances at the World Cup?
Yeah, I'm obviously we all disappointed with the showing at the Nations Cup in Morocco. We know we could have done better. I think there's a lot of lessons coming from there. I'm hoping that the coaching staff has realized and seen that, and including the players. I think the players themselves hope that there's a lot of learnings, and that they will now, looking forward to the World Cup, approach not only their football in a different way, but Um, I think for me, the biggest thing for me now is that I know we always then the coach chooses the players that he wants for the. Then we will all uh, not going to be happy. We'll always want this one, want this one. Um, the ones that we had said no, he must pick them. If he picks them, then we're gonna say, another. Why didn't you pick this one? So, but I think the success that Coach Bruce has had in the last 2 years plus, he made us believe that we can conquer the continent, and and rightfully so. They've been playing beautiful football leading up to and qualifying for these big tournaments. And when we had that poor showing there, I think um, the criticism is justifiable, because he made us believe that we,
Which we hadn't for a while, but
yeah,
Bafana wasn't a team we believed in for a while,
yeah,
I think.
and for me that's a good thing that now as a country, as fans, that now we believe that we have a team. We believe that we can. So I think now the next 5 months or so, now the challenge is to make us believe that we can do something special at the World Cup. I think if the boys apply themselves, we can. And it's going to be very interesting playing Mexico in Mexico. I think it's the return match that no one was looking forward to, or that anyone would have, or any movie script writer would have written that that the opening match in South Africa 2010 now the reverse. So it's going to be. I hope this time around that we win that opening match.
Yeah, maybe with Nicholl and Baloyi watching a second Nicholl in goal from the stands in Mexico for that opener. Brian, one last one for you, because we have not much in common from football ability, not as much as I'd like in golf ability, but we do share the role of father. I think your young son is just a year older than mine, so we're in a similar space there as dads. What should I be doing? What should I not be doing? And I think there are a lot of parents who have kids who they see a bit of sporting talent in, and they'd like to not push them, I hope, but at least give them the opportunity to enjoy the sport. And if that eventually manifests in that sport becomes your living, well, fantastic, but very unlikely. But at this stage, what should parents be doing as someone who's been the professional but is now also a dad as well, for your daughter, for your son, who's showing not just talent, but most importantly, enthusiasm? How should we be handling this best?
Just it's a very difficult area to really know and understand what to do. I mean, my firstborn is 21 years old, and uh, he played, but I was very mindful and not to push him, and I wanted it to be, if he plays, it's something that he really wants, um, and sometimes I sit back, I look at most of my friends that in football that we, like Stanton Fredericks, your Fabian McCarthy, Matthew Booth. Their boys are the similar age as my son, and they are friends, and they are pursuing, and now I have a young one who really loves football now, and I'm trying to take the similar approach that not to push him, but if he really wants to, then I'll try to make it clear even to his mom that if he really wants to, then I'll support him. Then I will push him, but I need to see it from him pushing himself. When that hunger is there, then it makes it easier for me to push and to know then what to do and how to help him. I see and with that, when I take him to soccer, to the point where 2 years ago I had to take him out play at club football, and mainly because of the things I've been seeing parents doing. And I end up saying, no, I don't want him to be in this environment, because now I'm not going to keep quiet. And I would sit down with the club owners and tell them, you can't do this. Including I remember 2 years ago, my son's club, they played against Robert Kelly's. These guys, they were doing things they used to do when I was a teen, growing up playing for Buffalo Park. We knew we never wanted to go play Robert Kelly's because he knew that they're hooligans. And so these guys are still doing these things. You hear and see parents on the touchline for 8, 9, 10-year-olds. They swearing. I was like, no ways. This is not the environment I want my kids to be in. Then you have the coach, the coaching parents.
Who are the absolute worst. We have them in my son's football team as well.
So this is what I say to parents and the coaches as well. When you have a 10, 11, 12-year-old playing football, on match day, it's the most important day for him. And when you are screaming on the touchline, when the poor boy or girl has the ball there, and all of you there on the line, there's like 10 parents, including the coach, screaming, kick, pass, cross. You are taking something very, very important away from him. Football teaches you how to take responsibility, how to make decision making. And you're taking that away from them. And at some point, this child is going to hate football. Because I'm saying, at training, coach, that's where you should be screaming and whatever, telling him what to do. On the field, let the child play. Let him make decisions. You can ask him after the game that, okay, you did this. Why did you do it? But there was, if you have a video or what, you can show them there was that option there. You could have passed to Dan, but you passed it there. Why? And in that, then they grow and learn. But with you shouting, telling them what to do, then they don't see things for themselves. They're not going to grow.
I've often felt that for professional games, especially in the English Premier League, referees should be equipped with an electric cattle prod that they're allowed to use on players. At junior football, they should have the same thing for the parents and be able to use it as often as they like. Sadly, I can identify with everything you've just said. It's a message that I hope a lot of parents will listen to because it is fundamental that the kids love what they're doing, because they're not going to want to do it if they don't. And keeping joy at the heart of football or any other sport as kids are growing up is so absolutely important. So that is a wonderful gospel with which to end our conversation. Mr. Spider-Man, thank you so much for all the joy you gave us on the football field and for some very wise words. And I hope that whether it is in the stands in Mexico or watching from afar here in South Africa, we're seeing an opening victory and a great World Cup for us. And I look forward to some golf with you soon, even though it's generally rather depressing because you are so much better than me, which is very annoying. Brian Baloyi, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
There we go. The man who could have been an Orlando Pirates keeper. He could have been a Liverpool keeper, but instead one of the all-time greats of Kaizer Chiefs and that little stint at Sundowns, and a great South African keeper as well, the legendary Brian Baloyi.